Here are the 10 most racist moments we have ever seen in football history. Vini versus Villarreal. During a game between Real Madrid and Valencia in May 2023, we saw something happen at the Mestalla that absolutely broke all our hearts. Vini Jr. was consistently racially abused by some of the home fans, and it was so bad that it pushed the Brazilian to tears right there on the pitch. The game was paused for some moments as the 22-year-old winger pointed out a few fans in the stands that chanted racial abuse and made racial gestures at him. Videos of the Valencia fans calling Vini mono, Spanish word for monkey, have even surfaced on the internet since then. In a dramatic turn of events, Vini was later sent off in that game for an unrelated incident, but it still rubbed everyone off the wrong way, considering all that had happened only minutes prior. But La Liga, Real Madrid, and the Spanish authorities have quickly jumped into action following that ugly incident. The club reported the case to the State Attorney General's office as a hate crime. 3 fans who were found guilty of racially abusing Vini in that game have been given lifetime bans. 4 fans who hung inflated dolls of the Brazilian player in Madrid have been identified and arrested. A section of the Valencia stadium has been banned for 5 games, and Vini's suspension for the red card has been rescinded. But when the Italian FA had the opportunity to do something similar this season, they refused to. That leads us to the next entry on the list today: Lukaku versus Juventus. In the Coppa Italia semi-final in the 2022-23 season, Romelu Lukaku was repeatedly racially attacked by the Juventus fans. Then, in an interesting turn of events, the Belgian had an opportunity to silence the haters when he was presented with a very late penalty. Lukaku converted the penalty and equalized the game, sending Inter into the second leg on level terms. He celebrated his goal by shushing the crowd, and guess what? The referee considered the celebration provocative and showed Lukaku a red card. We all expected the Italian FA to at least cancel the red card suspension, but they didn't, and Lukaku went on to miss the second leg of the semi-final. Juventus, however, were ordered to partially close their stadium for 1 match, and this particular incident felt like a deja vu because more than a decade ago, we saw an Inter striker get racially attacked by Juventus fans. Balotelli versus Juventus. Not long after he moved to Inter Milan, Mario Balotelli had already started facing racial attacks from opposing fans. The first major incident came in 2008 during a game against Juventus when he was just an 18-year-old kid. He was racially abused by Juventus fans throughout the game, and the owner of Inter Milan said he would have forced the entire team to walk out of the pitch had he been around during the game. The Juventus fans were given a 1-match home fan ban for that. Sadly, 5 years later, the story was still the same. Balotelli, who was playing for AC Milan at the time, was racially abused by AS Roma fans during a game. It was so bad that the referee had to suspend the game for several minutes. At Euro 2012, the Italian striker was also racially abused by more than 200 fans in the opening game of the tournament against Spain in Poland. Dani Alves versus Villarreal. Back in 2014, during a La Liga game between Barcelona and Villarreal, we saw Brazilian right-back Dani Alves get racially abused by Villarreal fans. Alves had walked over to the side of the pitch to take a corner for Barcelona when a fan threw a banana at him. Alves just quickly picked up the banana and ate it right there on the pitch, and that caused a huge sensation on the mainstream media and on social media back then. After the game, Dani Alves made a statement saying that players that look like him have suffered from this sort of thing for some time in Spain. Pierre Huevo versus a ref. Yes, even referees have been found guilty of racism in football. This one happened in 2020 during a Champions League game between PSG and Istanbul Basaksehir. The 4th official allegedly called Istanbul's assistant coach, Pierre Huevo, a racist slur just 14 minutes into the game. As a reaction, the Istanbul players walked out of the pitch, and the PSG players followed in solidarity. None of them came back out that night, and the game had to be rescheduled. Keane versus Cagliari. In April 2019, Juventus striker Keane was racially attacked by Cagliari fans during a Serie A game. In response, Keane scored and celebrated by going to the fans, spreading out his arms and just staring at them. He was then quickly pulled away by a teammate and some Cagliari players, and you won't believe what happened after. After the game, Leonardo Bonucci, one of the captains of the Juventus team, laid some blame on Keane, claiming that his celebration was provocative. He said the blame was to be shared 50-50 between calling Keane and the racist fans. That comment was condemned by some huge footballing figures including Raheem Sterling, Mario Balotelli, and Paul Pogba, Kalidou Koulibaly, Victor Osimhen, and Zambo Anguissa versus Fiorentina. In 2021, during a Serie A game between Napoli and Fiorentina, we saw that Fiorentina fans dished out a heavy load of racial attacks toward black players of Napoli. The major recipients that day were Koulibaly, Osimhen, and Zambo Anguissa, all African players from Senegal, Nigeria, and Cameroon respectively. The fans were seen making monkey noises at these players, and the Fiorentina boss even had to apologize on behalf of the home fans. After that game, Koulibaly went on Twitter and demanded that the culprits be found and given lifetime bans. Antonio Rudiger versus Spurs. In December 2019, when Antonio Rudiger was still playing for Chelsea, he was a victim of racial abuse during a keenly contested London derby against Spurs. The Spurs fans were reportedly making monkey noises at him during the game, which caused the match to be stopped 3 times. This particular case caused a huge uproar in the country, with the British government promising to take action and the PFA vowing to launch an investigation into the matter. 2 months later, BBC Three released a file named Shame in the Game, and it was about racism in football in England. Fast forward to December 2020, a data science company named Signify did an analysis on social media, and it was discovered that 52 account users were actively involved in spreading online hate against Antonio Rudiger. 52 in just 1 month. That's a crazy number. Dani Welbeck versus Chelsea. In October 2012, when Dani Welbeck was still a Manchester United player, he was a victim of racist abuse during a Premier League game against Chelsea. A Chelsea fan at Stamford Bridge was captured making monkey gestures at the striker. The fan was quickly identified, arrested, and also banned from Stamford Bridge. Marcus Rashford, Bukayo Saka, and Jadon Sancho were all too familiar with this particular incident. In the Euro 2020 final, which was held in the summer of 2021 due to the COVID-19 pandemic the previous year, Rashford, Saka, and Sancho missed penalties in the shootout against Italy. England eventually lost the game and the trophy, and the English fans turned on the young players, attacking them with all sorts of racial slurs and chants. And it didn't end on the pitch. These players were sent racist messages on their social media, while Rashford had his street mural vandalized. Saka said that the moment he missed the penalty, he instantly knew he would receive a lot of hate. That's how bad racism is in the sport. The players are no longer shocked when it comes. In fact, they now expect it. Earlier that same summer, Marcus Rashford was attacked with at least 70 racial slurs online after Manchester United lost the Europa League final to Villarreal in May 2021. That game also ended in a shootout, but it wasn't Marcus Rashford who missed his spot kick. But that didn't matter. He was still abused online. That same week, Raheem Sterling and Kyle Walker were also victims of racial attacks online after Manchester City lost the UEFA Champions League final to Chelsea. The truth here is simple. We have a huge racism problem in football, and we have had this problem for a long time now. The treatment black players faced a decade or 2 ago is the same treatment they are still facing right now. Hardly anything has changed. This is not a Spain or Italy or England issue. It is a huge societal issue, and as we saw in this video, it is happening everywhere, all around Europe and all around the world. We're grateful for the steps that have been taken so far to try and curb this societal evil, but apparently more still has to be done to put a permanent end to racism in football and in society at large. And we want to encourage every one of our viewers and subscribers to report any form of racism you witness to the appropriate authorities. Together, we can put an end to racism.